I'll come back. 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 I'll come back.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my, we bitch now. Oh, I see it live. It's true. Making sure my sound is muted. Priest, are you ready to go, or are you eating something?
No, I'm done.
I hear
I'm
somebody
good.
chewing.
That's me, sorry.
God, both of you were starting the cast. You have time to eat before the cast. Oh my god, you're such fucking god. You amateurs.
All
Let's
right.
play solitaire on
Are
co-op.
we ready to do the cutoff for iTunes?
Yeah, we never
Okay.
do, but go ahead.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Barcast Drag Race! Welcome to the Barcast! Barcast Drag
Don't
Race!
like this! I don't
Where the
like
bar gets
this!
lower every
I
week!
hate this! Please stop and just read us in. Oh my fucking lord.
What do you have against Drag Race? Come on.
I love Drag Race. Don't you bring that in here, but I love Drag Race.
Your bartenders for this evening are non-pencil.
Bitch, I'm from Chicago!
Fucking dead.
Did I short out? I yelled, bitch, I'm from
No,
Chicago.
I heard it, and I went to Enigma, and then he just said
You didn't
nothing.
go to Enigma.
I did not hear. Yeah,
You said
I
heard
heard
you
silent.
Okay, Enigma.
Why are we here? Just to suffer.
Milk.
Nobody cares about you, Enigma. Go home.
Rav.
Goldfish.
And I'm from New York. I have no problems. This week, we have a very special guest. One that I've had the chance to interact personally when I was a wee follower, Bab, on FemFic. I consider myself honored, privileged, and truly grateful to have TheVClaw on today.
Thank you very much. That actually means a lot. Like, I actually do remember meeting you at Midwest Brody Fest in 2015. Like, that was a really nice interaction. So it's really great to be on here right now.
Yee. But before we start talking about raging horsecock, let's talk a little bit about ourselves for those who are tuning in for the first time. Hello and welcome. We're a community-oriented podcast where you politely request a guest, we politely ask them on, you ask the questions, when we make them miserable for 2 hours. For those who haven't tuned in before, you can check us out on places where you watch podcast-related material like Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, which is actually dead. That thing doesn't exist anymore. And of course, YouTube, where we have all of our videos, plus other shows like Screaming Closet, Writer's Workshop, Shitface, Shitfix, and many, many more. We're streaming live on Twitch right now, so the lovely and on Pencil is watching the chat. Pencil, what are questions we don't ask our guest?
Hey, if you ask our guest, like, where they live and what their social security number is, I'm not going to ask that. If you ask our guest, questions about politics or religion, I'm not going to ask that. If you are insistent, I'm going to fucking ban you. It's that simple. You can do it. I believe in you. You guys know better at this point. I'm watching the chat. Don't let me down.
Speaking of letting you down, this week we have a drinking word. If you ever hear the phrase out of any of us, including V, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Take a nice, healthy, responsible drink. Please drink responsibly. We don't want to send someone to the hospital again. So, I think that covers everything. Let's get into some actual interview beginner warm-up questions before we...
Stop! Horse rescue charity and money.
Oh, that's right. Just as a quick reminder, and we'll talk about a little more halfway through the cast, 100% of our profits and proceeds, whether it's ads on YouTube or bits donated on Twitch, go to Horse Rescue Charity, specific Red Wings Horse Sanctuary out in Middle California. It's a really wonderful cause. Last year, we were able to donate several $100s, and we hope to keep up the generosity. Hopefully, you guys can take some time halfway through the cast to maybe watch an ad and donate some bits to Horse Rescue. Please support our money-losing scheme. So, without further ado, we got questions. V has answers. Let's kick this off. Let's start with a very basic introduction, VClaw. Who are you, and what do you do in the fandom?
Well, I am a fan fiction writer. I started back in 2013, right as I was graduating college. I originally graduated from MSU with a degree in journalism, but that didn't really work out for me because, I was stupid enough to think that I could get a career in radio when that's about as outdated as the horse and buggy. But, ever since then, I've been working really hard making myself as a full-fledged freelance writer on both fan fiction, also fur affinity, also by TheVClaw, and so furry as Troyus Clauston. You could probably look on my fan fiction account to find both links to those. And I also have a Patreon under TheVClaw if anyone is wanting to follow me there. I have a lot of big projects coming up, including one that's Agrasuko related. So, who knows? I might get a few people they might get their fancies tickled from that.
Yeah, I mean, they might have the opportunity to hide their cock in butts. I don't know. It was funnier in my head.
I think it's Haida that's going to get something hidden because it was actually part of a Patreon randomizer last month. I hold a randomizer every month where patrons submit their ideas, and I put them through a number generator to see what happens. And last month, the winners were Haida from Agrasuko. The setting is a farm outdoors, and the overall theme is pegging. And that's going to include Fenico.
Oh!
Yeah.
Well, that is certainly... You know what? That actually sounds really interesting.
Fuck yeah.
Now, one of the things I really like about having you on right now, VClaw, is because you just talked about how you're spreading from not just pony, but also into more furry-based kind of writing and other modes of writing. And I think a lot of people in the fandom right now are in this unique place right now where the show's over and they're looking to grow into more directions. How has growing out into more fur-related communities and expanding your writing style, how has that changed your perception of fan fiction? Or have you found that it's harder to gain that kind of respect on fur sites rather than fan fiction?
Well, the thing is, I noticed that a lot of people on fan fiction have been leaving the fandom. Like, a lot of authors I've been a big fan of, including, like, most recently, Gara the author, have been leaving that fandom and pursuing other interests. So, I mean, I'm not going to be leaving fan fiction. Like, this fandom has helped me out in so many ways, including with me meeting my boyfriend, and we've been together for about 5.5 years now. So I'm not going to be leaving that fandom, but I also have been pursuing other things like fur affinity and fan fiction. And surf furry. And it's nice being able to actually, like, expand my horizons and to deal with more fandoms. Like, I recently did a Star Fox story last month that involved tickling as the main kink, and that's up on my fur affinity page right now. But, yeah, it's actually been kind of nice being able to expand my horizons to try to do new things.
Awesome. Now, we are primarily a horse cast, so with that in mind, I've still got some more horse questions for you. What is your favorite part of the Brony fandom? The online community, fan fictions, cons, music? What ends up keeping you here?
Honestly, the biggest thing is just, like, the sense of camaraderie, because I've met a lot of my closest friends online from the Brody community, and even though some of them have moved on to other things, I still keep good contact with them. I still write good stories for them, even if they're not, like, MLP related. And like I said before, like, I met my boyfriend through fan fiction specifically. Like, we actually met as fellow writers. Storm Von Butt, he sort of messaged me in a PM, and we got to talking, and that turned to Skype conversations. And nowadays, they are living with me, and we are living very happily together as two freelance writers making do during this sort of semi-apocalyptic setting.
Getting together with fellow writers. You know what that's like, Priest.
I do. I remember once upon a time in the old days, we had this thing called conventions.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of these things.
I meant more that you found your girlfriend through My Little Pony, but I'm fine with that.
That's right. We met in a Skype call, and you told me about becoming an actual writer is really fucking hard. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then we met at a con, and then did Kissu, and it was nice.
God
Ponies
damn.
bring people together.
Why
It's
is everyone
true.
hooking up through Pony except for me? God damn it!
I mean, it's because you asked the stripper about your fan fiction. You asked the stripper about fan fiction.
No, no, that's not what I asked her.
You asked her about so many things, including fan fiction.
Do you strip because it's fun or because the money's good?
That's what I asked her. Nothing about my fanfiction.
She saw your Patreon button and asked what your Patreon was, and then you explained fan fiction.
I don't care. Strippers make a shit ton of money. I'd be surprised if a Patreon account can make more than a stripper in a single night. I mean, let's be honest here.
It depends. But this is the TheVClaw show, not the Beat Up on Enigma show. Actually, I think I'm wrong about that. I'm not going to dwell on that. We're going to move on. Bad transition. We're at a point where the show is over. Where do we, as a community, go from here to keep ourselves alive and relevant?
Well, we've recently had news coming out about Gen 5 coming out, and from the news I've been hearing about that, it seems like it's going to actually continue on from the universe of G4. Like, I think the actual description given out from Equestria Daily is that the new character is going to be an activist trying to evoke change. And I'm not sure what the hell that means. Like, did Twilight Sparkle fuck up some big way, or maybe there's some new ruler? But I'm very interested to see how Gen 5 turns out, and hopefully that will help bring some new life into the fandom and maybe some much needed change. But,
So activist, right? So the main character is going to be an environmental terrorist, right?
Well, who knows? I mean, maybe it's something else. I mean, we don't know what's going to be happening in Gen 5. I mean, for all we know, maybe some new nation is coming up to try to take things over, and the main protagonist is one of the few that's trying to stand up against it. We don't know. But I am very curious to see what happens here, because I kind of want to see what happened post G4, because, God, that finale episode was one of the best. Like, let's be honest, MLP had a better season finale than most other shows out there, like Game of Thrones, Supernatural, Star Wars. I mean, who would have thought that MLP would have a better finale than most of those fandoms, you know?
Right? Yes. Now, last but not least, the final actual interview question we've got for you before we throw you to the wolves is the hardest one, and this might actually put you in a little hot water, my friend. Who is best pony?
You know what? I would probably say Spike. Like, Spike is hands down one of my favorite characters. I love writing him. I mean, obviously, if you've seen a good majority of my work, you would know that. But I also think he was given one of the best character developments within the final episodes. Like, in one of the final things, when Chris had him by his wings, he still was willing to say, "Don't try to save me. Think for yourselves." He was willing to sacrifice his wings to save Equestria. That says so much about him. Like, honestly, Spike is my all-time favorite character. I am seriously considering my next tattoo being of him on my arm. I'm not even kidding.
Well, to our luck, we have resident Spike hater and destroyer in this chat right now on Non-Pencil.
How are you doing now? I hear you like Spike, V. Is this true?
Have you read my content? You know how much I'm a fan of Spike. And, not just with... But Seriously, I've been thinking my next tattoo design. I have 5 tattoos on me so far. I was thinking my next tattoo would be like of Spike's DJ helmet from the episode She's All Yak, when he was like a DJ and he had like that DJ Deadmau5 helmet sort of style. I was kind of wanting to get that helmet tattooed on my forearm.
You know, as much as I dislike Spike, I do love the fact that he basically told Rarity to be gone, thought.
I mean, yeah, he is a great character. Like, I honestly love how much he's developed throughout the series. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. And that's not just because I've written a ton of porn of him, but because, you know, I try my best to try to make it written as respectfully as possible. But, you know.
Well, I think I think we can all here agree that Spike is a fuckboy. So I think we're all
Future Spike
terrible.
skips legs day. He's just all top, no bottom.
I want to skin him and wrap the skin around many dead animal carcasses and throw it into the water and hope that fish eat it.
I feel like you should be visiting a psychiatrist about those sorts of feelings, you know?
I'll tell my psychiatrist that.
MLP Spike isn't real. MLP Spike can't hurt you, pencil.
It's not true.
Now, we've got our first question from the chat, and they haven't disappointed us. That time is long past. We're going to our first question from Mugny, who asks, how big is her penis?
Well, I will say it is uncut, and that's one of the smart... I will say that is one of the smartest decisions my mother has made. I'm not going to go into that, but I will say that it's definitely like over 6 inches, so that will say something, but... Yeah,
uncut, just like my drugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
My dick is the Snyder's cut.
It doesn't exist?
Are you talking about like Justice League uncut or Watchmen uncut?
Yes.
or maybe Sucker Punch uncut. I don't fucking know. Okay. I don't know. I've watched a lot of Zack Snyder films. Honestly, my favorite film from Zack Snyder is the Dawn of the Dead remake, but that's just me.
Like, today, just talk about things Pencil hates day. That's fine. Okay.
You hate uncut?
No, I hate Zack Snyder.
Oh no! The Dawn of the Dead remake is legitimately really good, and this is coming from someone. My favorite film of all time is the original Dawn of the Dead by George Romero, but even I will admit that Zack Snyder did a damn good job with the remake. I will say that.
All right, let's head over to our thread. The first poster is the other guy who just says, hey. That's it.
You also have a question from Muggany and behind the counter.
Oh, there's more Muggany questions? Okay. Will TheVClaw come to my birthday party? I will be older next year.
Well, due to the severity of the coronavirus, which I'm hoping you guys don't consider a political issue, because I certainly don't. Yeah, I'm not really leaving my apartment. That's actually why I left my original day job. Like, I used to work as a night auditor at a hotel, but yeah, back in July, I showed up one night and the evening clerk wasn't wearing a mask. There were 6 people in the lobby not wearing masks. And I ended up having a mental breakdown. I had to call my boss and have her come in, which was like at midnight, so that was a big deal. But
oh yeah, that's always fun, isn't it?
I worked at that company for like 4 years. And the fact that they didn't give a single flying fuck about mask ordinances, that just ruined me. Like, I tried calling the next morning to tell them about what happened, and they were like, oh, well, we put up signs telling people to wear masks, so we can't really do anything else. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck you. I quit. And ever since then, I've been writing porn online as my sole source of income. And you know what? I don't really have any regrets. You know, I'd rather write porn than just try to defend myself in front of a bunch of anti-maskers all night. And goddamn, I hated that job. I hated working at that place. I swear to God.
Totally fair.
Back to porn.
Yay, back to porn now. Right now.
Thank you.
Back to porn. Muggany has the next post out in the thread who says, number 1, hi, how are you?
I'm doing very good for myself. Thank you very much.
Yay. Number 2, why is boxed water the best water?
Box water?
That is the thing.
What the fuck is box water? I've never heard of that before. Is that like juice boxes? Is that what it is? Because I've never heard of box water in my life.
It comes in a carton. It comes in like a carton.
Well, yeah,
I don't
have you
know.
seen the coconut water?
No, this is just it literally comes in like a milk carton, guys. It's boxed water is a brand, believe it or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I didn't realize it was that bad. I figured it'd be like the coconut water where they got the little screw cap on one side.
Yeah, my boyfriend and I usually just buy like packs of the bottled water from Walmart. Like that does good for us.
Up next is number 3. Will you marry me?
No, I am taken, and very happily so.
Number 4 is, why won't you marry me?
Because I already have someone who I love dearly. Like, I've been with my boyfriend for the past, 5.5 years, and I could not think of anyone who I'd rather be with. Like, I am extremely lucky to have found them the way I did. Like, we've been through fucking fan fiction. How many people can say that about couples that are still around? I don't know.
Yeah, no, actually there are quite a few really nice couples on FimFiction. They're just like OTPs, and it's great.
Yeah, nice ones. Not like Priest and I. We're awful.
We're hedonists, and it's great.
I mean, hey, I'm not judging that. I mean, Stormy and I are pretty outside the cut of normal social things, but not gonna go into that right now due to certain rules. But whatever. Let's just
you said you're uncut. Ayo, jokes. Up next.
Oh, come on, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Let's see. Oh my man, these questions really lean into this. It's like number 5. Now he's sad. He says, "I know you better than any other man."
I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that.
And then it goes, it's because of George. Are you seeing George now? I need to murder that man. I just want to be loved.
Who the fuck is George? Are you talking about Curious George? Because I have not written any porn about Curious George, nor would I want to.
No, you gotta draw. You gotta
write.
You gotta write about George Costanza porn.
You know who I think is the real life George Costanza? Big Ed from 90 Day Fiancé. Anyone who has looked at that weird fucker online, that is the real life George Costanza. Everything that he does feels like a George Costanza plotline on Seinfeld. I mean, that might just be me, but seriously, check out 90 Day Fiancé with Big Ed. It is the most entertaining thing I have seen back in 2020. I absolutely love it. I would recommend it.
Oh yeah? Well, I'm a real life mini Kramer.
I
What
don't
does
know
that
what...
even mean?
I don't even know what mini Kramer is. That sounds like a weird,
I'm young Kramer. I should...
It means he has small pee-pee.
I'm just saying, you probably shouldn't compare yourself to Kramer, considering the guy who played Kramer did a lot of racist shit, a while back.
I thought he said creamer, like coffee, and I was like, because he has the tiny pee-pee. It makes sense. And that's the way I went with it. Yeah.
Small
Alright,
pee-pee.
that might be better. That might actually be better than mini Kramer. I'm just being honest right now.
And then, last but not least, number 8. How your day?
My day's been pretty good. I woke up at around 3 p.m. right now because I was up since like 7 or 8, finishing up Game Night 2 on Patreon. I have like about 9,200 words written on that story so far. And that's just like the setup. I still have like a bunch more to write out. But you can check out my Patreon, TheVClaw, to see what has been written so far. But I'm very happy with how the story's going at the moment.
Nice. Now we're going to Arcade Striker JK5. Number 1, what's your favorite non-MLP franchise?
You know what? I would probably say My Hero Academia. I honestly love that fandom, and Deku, I sort of latch onto him. Like, I would totally get a tattoo of Deku on, like, one of my legs. Like, that school festival arc that happened where he was fighting against Todoroki and he just went, "Come at me with everything you've got!" I would totally get that as a tattoo. I'm not even kidding. Like, Deku is seriously one of my favorite characters ever. But I'm not gonna get a tattoo until that series is finished, because I've seen from Game of Thrones how easily characters can change even by the final season.
Subverting expectations.
Up next, have you done any fan-related content for a non-MLP franchise?
You can look on my Fur Affinity or Surf Furry pages to see what I've done. I've done a lot of different fans, including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star Fox, a lot of Zootopia stories, which I've been gathering up on my Fur Affinity page. If you just look on there, I go by TheVClaw on Fur Affinity or Troyus Quaston, spelled Troius Quaston on SoFurry, and you can see what I've written on there. But I've done a lot of stuff outside of MLP so far, and I'm going to be doing the Agrasuko story next. So if you want to see Haida getting pegged by Fedeko, feel free to check those out or to follow my Patreon when I start work on that later on. Hopefully before the end of this month. We'll see.
All right.
But yeah.
And then number 3, do you prefer Wolverine's claws, Freddy Krueger's, Vega's, or Dr. Claw?
You know what? If we're just going on overall strength, I would say Wolverine, because, that's adamantium. That shit was able to cut through metal. I doubt that Freddy Krueger could do those little flimsy knife nails that he did. And I honestly don't want to, try to say Freddy Krueger because the remake confirmed that he was a pedophile. So yeah, I would say Wolverine. I would say Wolverine more than anything else.
The correct answer is the claws of that tall lady from Resident Evil 8.
God, I'm just waiting for someone to try to commission me for that sort of shit, because I know that's gonna happen. People are gonna be like, "Oh, furries are so cringy," but then they see that shit and they're gonna be like, "Take me, mommy."
Big
you know
mommy
that shit's gonna happen.
milkers.
Who knows? Who knows?
Now, for the next set of questions, we're going to iStar, who I terribly skipped over because I am terrible at using my eyes. Number 1, what organs are you especially willing to part with?
You know what? If it's for some transplant surgery to help someone in need, I wouldn't mind to give up one of my kidneys if I was able to. Or maybe an appendix, because I haven't had that removed, so who knows? Maybe that wouldn't really mean anything for me. But yeah, those are probably the top 2 organs I would put away with.
All right.
Isn't there a safe amount of a safe length of intestine that you can get rid of?
I mean, maybe, but I was just thinking, theoretically, the safest things. A kidney or the appendix are probably my safest bets right now.
Speaking of safe bets, the next question is, how do you write so fast?
Desperation and money. Those are my top 2 biggest incentives for that sort of thing.
All right. Up next, we've got, are the straights okay?
Well, considering what's been going on in our country nowadays, I would say absolutely not.
So,
A little too
let's
much.
change the subject to something else. Next question, please.
All right, I apologize.
Let's see. The next question is, do you have a favorite breed of bread?
I usually get honey wheat bread when I go shopping because that's the one I usually get because it's one of the cheapest. But when it comes to making a good grilled cheese, I would recommend getting potato bread. That would be the one thing that I would recommend more than anything else because that is delicious. I'm just saying that out right now.
Next question. What kind of establishment do you think would benefit from a skin optional rule?
Well, definitely not any schools, I will say that. I'm not really sure because for me, whenever I write porn, one of the things I'm always insisted on is consent. So for me, if there's any establishment that would go for skin optional, I would have to make sure before anything else that everyone was perfectly willing with it because consent, not only is it important to me, but I consider consent to be sexy. Like, if someone is truly wanting something to happen, that is hotter than anything else. Like, I can't really get into forced stuff, but if someone is truly willing, that to me just gets me off, personally. But yeah, consent is the most important thing.
Completely agree. Now then, approximately how many children need to be consumed to cross the line between general nuisance to helpful member of the community? What the fuck?
Wait, I don't understand the question.
Well, Enigma, let me explain. The question is, how many children do you have to eat before you are no longer viewed as a nuisance and are instead viewed as a help to society for eating children?
Well, I feel like that's something that people would be pissed off about that no matter how many children I ate. If I ate one child, that would be like something that everyone would be pissed off about. And if I ate 1,000, no one's going to be like, you know what? Maybe he's doing some good for the world. I can't really see that happening.
But I was really hungry.
I'm just thinking, like, the ending of that Netflix movie, Whatever Happened on Monday. Have you guys seen that? Like, it was like this supposed to... Yeah, but remember how, like, at the ending of the film, like, they showed all those babies being born, and as I was seeing that, I was thinking, holy shit, that's going to lead to a lot of consequences down the line. Like, maybe that villain kind of had a point.
I only...
Jonathan. Sorry. I
only eat farm-grown babies, thank you very much.
Oh my god.
I was going to say...
Organic children!
Free-ranged.
Jonathan Swift has entered the chat. Just for the literary fans out there who will get that joke. Sorry.
I would have taken Hannibal Lecter as a good second.
Fair enough.
Speaking of Hannibal Lecter, we're going... sorry. There's one more Ice Star question. Mm-hmm. What is one color the world could do without, and why is it beige?
You know what? I actually can kind of disagree with that. Like, beige or tan are pretty, like, bland colors overall. Like, I can't really see any purpose of those colors being around except for, like, maybe identifying clay. But, even then, like, you know what? I'm fine with beige being removed. You know what? I'm kind of with him on that.
All right. Now we're going to Jake the Army Guy, who starts by saying, howdy, my dude. Number 1 looks at the fetishes you write. Dude, what the fuck?
You know what? I can't even deny that. Like, I have definitely written a lot of controversial things, especially since I quit my day job and I started writing full time. Like, by that point, the people who commission me for stories are the ones who help me, like, help pay my rent every month. So, just like, oh, you want me to write this sort of fetish for his character? Okay, sure thing. How many words do you want? Okay, I could probably add a couple more if you add, like, $30 to the pot. All right, that sounds good. And I just write that out, and by the time I finish with it, I'm like, all right, let's see what else is out there. But like, that's just the way it rolls, you know?
I think it's totally fair. Hey, you are writing to make the money, and if that's what makes the monies, understood.
Absolutely.
Number 3, what made you want to start taking up writing to begin with?
Well, at the beginning, like, I had a lot of stories I wanted to get out of my head because I've constantly thought about them, especially when I was writing the Brushed Away series. Like, I really wanted to write a story of, like, a gay teen, like, finding hope and retribution through his life and through his talents. And I'm really glad of what I was managed to achieve through Brush Away, and I'm currently working to try to get that converted to like a full physical book that I can actually like sell online for people to buy, like as like either hardback or paperback. I recently actually just got Brushed Away completely revised, and if you look on my fanfiction, Brushed Away has been completely like revised, so like it's like fully proofread with the help of Double R Forest. I can't say enough how much they have helped me throughout the past few months during 2020 because they really went above and beyond to help me out. And you know, honestly, I'm just really wanting to try to get that story up off the ground. If hopefully I can do that with the next stimulus package, I can like get that story put out there and people can actually purchase it physically. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm just saying that right now.
Oh, that's totally fair. Hey, I would definitely recommend checking out Lulu. That was how I was able to get my book made. Definitely worth checking out. Number 4.
Yeah.
If I were to get on a high-speed train from Houston to San Francisco, and you got on a high-speed train from Paris to Berlin, how dense of a singularity would you need to create to warp space enough that our trains intersected?
Well, I think with that sort of question, you would need to have a Time Lord involved, or at least someone who has that sort of experience with the matter, because I am not really that good with math. Like, I was good with algebra back in high school, but as soon as college came along, I was struggling. I was literally on the dean's. I was literally on academic probation when it came to college grade algebra. That shit does not take any prisoners. I can say that from experience.
Hey, Enigma, he mentioned Time Lords.
Do 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 do.
I mean, I technically made a Doctor Who reference in the first Rush Away story. Like, when Canvas won his first art competition, one of the runners-up was Dinky, who had a Doctor Who's themed painting. So, you know, that's
Who's
something
best
I am
doctor?
aware of. I would say the David Tennant was the best Doctor, the 11th or the 10th. Was it the 10th?
Matt Smith?
And-
Are you talking about Matt Smith or?
Matt Smith was the 11th, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, the 10th
Tennant was
Doctor. David Tennant was the best, but the best assistant, I would say, was Ace McShane from the 7th Doctor. She was
Ooh.
fucking awesome. I would love to have seen her working with David Tennant. Oh my god, they would have made such a good crossover. That's just me, though.
I just like Martha Smith, alright?
You know what? I don't blame you. Martha was absolutely awesome, and I love that she was the first, like, black assistant of the Doctor. Like, you know what? All praise to Martha. I love Martha.
Next, number 5. What is the best episode?
You know what? In retrospect, I would say one of my personal favorites was honestly the Ticketmaster. But I know that was like one of the very first episodes. But I did like give the first real looks at all the main characters. But I also really liked Castlemania. And that's an episode that a lot of people didn't like, but I honestly really liked it because it did show all the characters together in the same place, doing their own thing. I also really liked She's All Yak because I'm honestly a big fan of Yona and Sambar as a pairing, and no obligation against people who are like for Galbar. Like, obviously, I love Gallus and Sambar as a couple. Like, my very first story was Pony Griffin pairing, so as soon as I saw those two in the beginning of season 8, I was like, fuck yes, I want to see more of that. But by the time we came to, like, Sambar and Yona, I was like, you know what, that's really sweet. And I'm really glad I wrote more of those two together, because Sambar and Yona are a perfect pairing, in my opinion.
Can I just retitle Ticketmaster to 2 Tickets, 6 Mares?
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Wow.
You know what? We're all very desperate, so who knows?
I am. The first thing that came to my head was fucking Centipede.
Come on.
It's a great video game, Centipede. It's a classic.
I'm surprised you know that.
Number 6. Getting to my favorite story from you, What Could Have Been Lost, which I only just realized I never favorited for some reason. What made you want to write it? You seem to have perfectly played on Spike's worst fear of losing Twilight. Why did you decide to focus on Twilight and Spike over the others?
Okay, fun thing about that story, I actually had like a much larger idea for that story as a whole. It'd be like some multi-chaptered epic where all of the different characters would be like trying to reconcile with Twilight. And I still have an idea for that story as a whole, but as a Rule 63 version, where it would be like Dustshine and everyone with a gender switch. And I feel like that would have honestly been a better story overall, just because it would give a better perspective about how Shining Armor was more of a victim by having it be Gleaming Shield, and sort of emphasizing that, you know, things weren't exactly consensual on her end. And during my thoughts about that sort of storyline, I just had this idea of, you know, how Spike must have been feeling. So eventually that sort of came to be like a one-shot just focused on him. And I will say I do have a lot of plans. If I ever did do a Rule 63 version of the Candlelight Wedding storyline, I would have a lot thought out there. And I will say one of my ideas was specifically a headcanon involving Butterscotch. About him, but not saying anything about it, and not really judging him for it. And I actually had a lot thought out about that sort of storyline. Like, honestly, if I ever do work on that, I would like to work on a storyline involving Butterscotch in particular. But, you know, that's very far off in the near future, if it ever happens.
All right. Actually, number 7 kind of touches on Caramel. Big Mac and Caramel, Secret Agents, is amazing in every way. No question, just stating a fact. Move along, Flutter Priest. Wow. Okay, thanks, Jake. I feel a little attacked right now. It's like I'm just being your mouthpiece or something.
It's fine. Look, he has more questions. It's okay, Priesty Pie. Look, number 8 is an actual question, I promise.
All right, number 8. No, it's fine. I'm just having fun. Number 8. What is the one thing you wish the show had done? What character would you like to see again, and what angle would you like to see taken on a regular?
Okay, you know what came to my mind with the final season of MLP of Season 8? How come there wasn't any character arc involving Prince Blueblood? Because he was only introduced in Season 1, and they never tried to give any depth to his character throughout the entire series. He would have been perfect for a final season episode character. Like, maybe Rarity would be sent on a friendship mission and she has to help him out with something. Like, I really would have liked to see Blueblood being given some more development in the final season. I was actually considering having him be involved in, like, a future story in the Brushed Away universe where it turns out, like, a couple years back, I actually did, like, a contest for people to submit their own stories in the universe. And one person had, like, the idea of Blaine, one of the triplets in the Costin family, actually getting a flower shop in Canada. So I was just thinking, what if Blue Blood ended up, like, falling for him? And that would have been an interesting story. Like, I would have liked to have written something involving Blue Blood, like, growing and developing as a character. Like, maybe after Twilight's coronation, Blue Blood helps Spike build up his self-defense skills after his scuffle with the Legion of Doom. Like, that would have been interesting. Like, I don't know, that's just me, but I would have liked to have seen more Blue Blood, personally.
I think that's a great point, especially with, you know, how early he was established and then just kind of tossed aside, kind of a bit of a character waste.
Yeah, thank you.
Number 9. Getting to my other favorite story from you, Sandbar Smashes. What made you want to write the objectively best student ship for the best ship for the Student 6?
Well, like I said earlier, when the Student 6 were first introduced, I was fully on board with the Galbar ship, and I still think that they're a really good pairing. Of course, that might be a little objective from me because my very first story was Troy and Canvas, and that was actually my very first tattoo. When I made 1,000,000 words on film fiction, I decided to celebrate by getting my first tattoo on my right shoulder of a silver quill and a paintbrush with, like, aqua paint at the tip. That was my very first tattoo, and it was dedicated to my first story. But you know what? When it came to, like, the final season of MLP, and they actually showed, like, good character chemistry between Yona and Sandbar, I thought, you know what? That was honestly one of the best canon ships they could have gone with. And I really like the idea of someone like Sandbar falling for Yona. Like, it was a cute idea, and I really wanted to expand on that. And when the prompt itself came up on my Patreon, Sandbar Smasher was actually a Patreon suggested poll thing suggested by Thea Winters, and I went with it, and I'm really glad I did, because it is one of my favorite canon ships, aside from, like, maybe Fluttercord, but, you know, that's debatable by some.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Just asking, because we talked about tattoos, like, several times. How many horse, like, pony tattoos do you have?
I technically only have one MLP themed tattoo, and that's actually on my chest, like, above my left pec. After the Uncommon Bonds episode where Sunburst was making friends with all of Starlight's acquaintances, there was a brief scene where he was being friends with Twilight, and they brought up the quote, "Plight forsaken plight," when he was talking about, like, a book that he found in original Ponish, which translated to "Reward prefers risk." And I looked that up, and it actually is a legit thing in, like, Old English. He liked forsaken plight. I did the research, I got the phrase typed out accurately. I put it through a generator to put it in, like, an elfish font, like Lord of the Rings. And I actually have that tattooed on my chest, like, above my left pec. So it's one of the most subtle MLP tattoos I could think of. And you know what? It still holds up. I got it, like, a couple years ago. I'm still really happy with it.
Yeah, Lucky. I want an MLP tattoo so badly, but I keep missing my fucking chance.
I feel weird getting, like, an MLP tattoo, because I usually try to get tattoos that are, like, very emotionally significant, and I keep thinking, like, oh, you know, this whole MLP thing, I don't know. But then again, it's kind of not a phase anymore. Right. So
stares at you in long-term girlfriend.
Yeah, so maybe if we raise $1,000 for charity this year for Horse Rescue Charity, I'll get a pony tattoo or something.
You know what? I would be totally for that. Actually, I have 2 tattoos on my arm right now, and both of them were tattoos I got as milestones. Like, the first tattoo I mentioned, the paintbrush and silver quill, I got that on my shoulder when I got 1,000,000 words on film fiction, when I reached the 2 million word milestone, and that's actually the one that you put as your thumbnail on the video right now, the pencil with a tilde, that was what I got on my forearm for 2 million. I've recently reached the 3 million word mark, but, due to finances and, obvious issues nowadays, I couldn't really go out and get a tattoo. But I do really want to try to make my next tattoo on my arm being like Spike themed, like the helmet from Spike's DJ helmet. But we'll see what happens there.
Well, speaking of what happens, we're going to questions from the Glib Master now. Number 1, who's the best and worst stallion in MLP?
Best stallion, I would probably say Shining Armor. Like, obviously, I've written a lot with that character, and I put him through so much shit. I feel like I have to give some credit where credit's due. He is one of my favorites. For least favorite, I might say Sven Gallop, but, I do feel like I could write something with him, probably fetishy, but I'd rather not go into that right now. But, who knows?
My least favorite was that one guy who bought Pinkie Pie's cannon.
You know what?
I remember that.
Yeah, the one who got intimidated by Maud, which I thought was a great moment. Hell yeah.
He looked like, I remember him as a ponified version of Eddie from Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you mean. His appearance made me think more Steve Buscemi, but I could see that.
Yeah. Number 2, how do you make worst pony become the best pony?
You know what? I could see Sven Gallop being given a good redemption arc, because I had an idea a while back when I was, like, super big into the show Survivor, and I had this idea of, with, like, the second season of my idea being, like, Sven Gallop being in, like, a white collar versus blue collar versus no collar season, similar to, like, Worlds Apart, which was, you know what, and nowadays a pretty controversial season of the actual show, but, like, I had this idea where Sven Gallop actually had, like, this detailed backstory where he ended up, like, getting revenge on, like, some ponies who bullied him in high school, and that's what inspired him to build up himself in the corporate world and be, like, this ruthless sort of no-holds-barred negotiator. Of course, I also plan for his character to be taken out on the Survivor season, sort of like Varner in Game Changers. I'm not going to go into that, but you can look that up on YouTube to see how that went. But, oh my god, it was intense. But yeah, that was sort of what I was thinking with Sven Gallop myself.
All right, number 3. Is your furry counterpart called the TheVClaw? Ooh woo.
I actually have not put much thought into making, like, a fursona. I know that I should. I have a few ideas. Like, one is to make a fursona that's, like, either a grizzly bear or a Saint Bernard. But I'm not exactly sure. Like, I'm pretty happy with the pony persona I have at the moment, but I feel like I'd either be a grizzly or a Saint Bernard if I were to go into making a fursona. So who knows? Maybe VPaw would make sense, but I have my reasons for going by the TheVClaw, and that's a little bit deeper than what people may think.
All right.
I think VPaw is actually a really cute name, but I would be worried it was already taken. It seems like something that's already been taken, I'm sure. The furry fandom is very wide.
Yeah, that is very true.
Number 4.
I like turtles.
Oh my god, dude, no.
Memes
Might not
aside.
turtle enough.
No, stop. If any of you quote that fucking
Master of
goddamn movie,
Disguise.
no, stop.
I mean, that's
No.
like the
No.
one. That's like the one scene that everyone remembers from that fucking movie, the
It's
turtle.
the only scene I know from
I
that
wish
movie.
I didn't remember any scenes from that movie, but I do. This is everything Pencil hates day. That's what today is. It's great. It's great. What's the next question, please?
There, number 4. What superpower would you like to have?
Honestly, I would either say invisibility or going through walls, but invisibility would probably be the best one. Like, I've seen The Invisible Man. I've seen how much that guy could get away with. I feel like invisibility would be, like, the best sort of ability to have. overall.
Until you
Personally.
get hit by a car.
Yeah, that's very true. But,
And
the only consequence of that is just, stay on the sidewalk. I could do that. That's not that big of a rule.
when people choose invisibility and they say, oh yeah, so I can spy on the girls in the girls' locker room, they never think, what if you slip on a bar of soap and break your neck and you're just an invisible corpse in the bathroom?
That's my fetish.
I wouldn't be using my powers to just, spy on women. I would be using it to, maybe sneak into a bank vault, get a bunch of money, maybe pull a bag outside the view of cameras, stuff like that.
He's got to get them hookers and blow.
Yeah.
Or pot. Or who knows?
Yeah, that number
Equally
5.
acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
At any time, number 5. At any time during your writing career, have you just sat down and said to yourself, "Why do I like this?"
I definitely had that feeling before. I think the biggest thing is just to try to limit myself to what I'm capable of doing and just keep myself in a good state of mind to continue doing what I do without really feeling too overwhelmed overall, because this is what I'm doing as a living right now. I don't really have any outside jobs, so writing is my sole source of income. So I gotta keep myself thinking, all right, I gotta keep myself determined on this. So I just gotta make sure I know my limits and know, okay, I could do this.
All right. Now then, we got a couple questions from Terry the Human before we go to our halfway ad break. Terry the Human started by saying, "What's your favorite story that you've written?"
Obviously, my favorite would be the Brushed Away series. I actually did a 4th or 3rd sequel to that story with Canvas Cutie Mark Mission, and that was honestly the most self-indulgent story I did, because that one was entirely of things that I wanted to do, having Canvas getting his first tattoo, because I know from experience that's sort of the tattoo experience and knowing what it's like, and having him get into the craft was sort of my way of just writing a story that I wanted to get into. And also, it was a great excuse for me to include my first a transgender character that was an OC of mine, of Flamingo Fire, who was in the first Brushed Away story, and I had her reappear in Campus Cutie Mark Mission after her transition, and I'm really happy with how that story turned out overall. Campus Cutie Mark Mission is one of my all-time favorite stories I've done, and honestly, if anyone is a fan of the Brushed Away stories, I would highly recommend they check that out, because that is one of the stories I'm really proud of doing myself, even though it is super indulgent personally.
Hey, sometimes you gotta indulge in yourself. Treat
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely.
Number 2.
Absolutely.
What is your favorite male-male, male-female, and female-female ships?
All right, favorite male-male. If we're talking about possible pairings in the show, my favorite male-male, you know what? I'm gonna go with what my boyfriend has gotten me into with writing. Big Mac and Caramel was a super sweet ship, and even though it's a little disheartening to see Big Mac with Sugar Bell, that's not something I'm not really gonna judge too much. But yeah, I do like Big Mac and Caramel, and I actually, with my Spike stories, I kind of had so that Big Mac was bisexual, and he ended up with Sugar Bell at the end, and I think that makes sense. For my favorite male-female, I gotta say Sandbar and Yona, or Discord and Fluttershy. Either one of those are ships I'm really big fan of. And when it comes to FF, I gotta go with Lyra and Bonbon. The fact that they actually confirmed that in the show is something I gotta give major props for. Even though it was off in the corner, very briefly, you know what? It's still something. I gotta respect that wholeheartedly.
Respect indeed. Now we're about halfway through the cast, and since this is Things That Pencil Does Not Like week, Milk and Enigma, do the ad. Go. Do it. Now.
Hey, Milk.
Hey, Enigma.
Do you like doing ads for horses?
Push to talk. Push to talk.
I am pushing the talk, but not at all.
Well, too bad, because you're doing right now. Because here at the Barcast, if you give us money, we give that money to Horse Sanctuary, Red Wing Sanctuary.
Wow.
I like this, but please continue and tell me more.
No, Milk, this is your time to shine. Here you
Enigma,
go. I opened up for you.
Enigma,
Get
I'm
money to
gonna
horses,
shoot you.
all of you. Just
I'm
do
gonna shoot you. You best do the ad like I said.
He's gonna shoot me. Give money to the horses, damn it.
Did he break his leg?
Hey guys, hey boys, how do you give money to horses?
Electronically.
You give us you give us your credit card information and the 3 little digits on the back of the card to save the horses.
Give us money!
Don't forget your expiration date, guys.
And then put the card back in your parents' wallet. They'll never know.
2 ways that you can donate to the Barcast and give money to horse charity is you can give us bits on Twitch. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little diamond. You click on the little diamond. And then you watch an ad and you can give us free bits. The bits become real money. We give the real money to horses. We don't keep any of it ourselves. The other way is you can subscribe to our Patreon and donate us money that way. Thank you, Alex, for posting a link. The link is in the chat right now. You go there, give us money, and maybe we'll do something nice for you, but probably not because we always forget to give our perks. But it doesn't matter because the money is going to charity. It's at Red Wings Horse Sanctuary in California, and I'm surrounded by incompetence. And we're done.
Way to ruin our perfect pitch pencil.
Oh,
We were gonna get so much money with the credit cards.
Speaking of incompetence, it's time for Enigma to read our comics' questions.
It's time, everyone. Enigma, are you ready?
I've been punished enough, but whatever.
It's time.
I can go for some more punishment.
Do it!
You do. Our comic says you do a lot of commission work. Have you ever found yourself typecast as the guy who always writes X? Is that a bad thing? Would you branch?
Well, to be fair, like, there's a lot of things I've written out, like, of various kinks. Like, I think at the moment, the big thing I'm known for is, like, maybe cuckolding, but I'm not exactly sure. But I do expand myself in enough different kinks and fandoms. I don't really feel like I'm tied down to one specific thing. So that doesn't really come as much of an issue on my end. Like, yeah, I might do a lot of, like, a specific fandom or a specific kink, but I try to expand myself as much as I can, so it doesn't really come as much of an issue.
I, too, can come with no issue. Number 2. When did you realize you could make money from words?
Honestly, I've been getting requests for commissions ever since I was still running Safe for Work stuff. One of the first people to try to contact me about writing a commission, this was before I even had a PayPal thing, was some guy who wanted, like, a fart fetish thing between, like, his human...
You too.
Between a human character and a Rainbow Dash, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't really have any means to do that.
I cannot. Yeah, I am in that same bucket. Someone tried to commission me for fart porn once, and I said to myself, "How the fuck do I make fart sexy?"
I mean, who knows? Like, you know what? Anything can be made erotic if you have the right mindset. But that was back when I couldn't really think of anything to do for it. I was just like,
Clearly,
maybe ask someone else.
Clearly, we declined it because we were full of hot air.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Number 3. What stands out as the greatest commission you've ever accepted?
I'm not exactly sure. I kind of want to say, like, when it came to writing the Showing Is Play series, like, the first 2 stories I did were purely, like, personal. Like, the first one was, like, based on, like, a pic I saw of, like, Shining being cucked by Sombra and Kano. Just like, I could write a story of that. And then I wrote the second story, part 2, and I was just thinking, how can I make that further? So I had Twilight involved and had, like, this fake sort of re-wedding thing. Then after that, someone came to me and was just like, hey, I'll pay $250 to make a sequel where Kane gets pregnant. And I was desperate enough to agree to that. And after that, like, everyone was wanting to pay me for that. So that sort of like helped me out a lot, wholeheartedly. So that was probably one of the best investments, but that's probably the one that's coming to mind is probably the one commission that really helped me out the most overall.
And now for the part that I hate most. This isn't really. Is this a question? I never know if these are questions, but Arconix then asks. Let me just take a swig of my chalky milk here.
Do it.
Fuck,
I believe in you. I believe in you.
God, I got no chalky milk.
Going in dry, bitch.
Now that by appearing on this podcast, you are found honor Tobuscus. You no doubt have come to see that your place as an artist carries a heavy burden and a dilemma. Between the commissioning of the art and the art of commissioning, just especially when responsibility for the commissioning of creation conflicts with the responsibility for the creation of the commission, a position in which all commissioning creative artists who value the outposts of their companion artists' creative commissionings must surely find themselves in the fullest of time. One hopes they will not engage in the usual flamboyant philippization, of the less enlightened towards this eternal issue, and be sure to tip your enigma, milady.
I think we're not going to tip enigma. You can try harder on that word.
I'm honestly not sure.
So yeah, what do you say to that? I mean, the answer is quite simple to me. Is it to you?
I honestly could not process half of that. Like, I had like 4 shots before this interview even started, and I'm just hearing that statement. I'm just imagining the guy who asked that question wearing like a big fedora and tipping it in my direction. But like,
the answer to this question is yes, but only on Tuesdays.
Okay, yeah, yes, but only on Tuesdays, I guess.
Enigma's talking about masturbating. That's the only time he can take his Viagra.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry.
We're moving.
It's not Viagra, it's Cialis. Get it right.
Oh, right. Okay.
If we take the Viagra, it'd be like, oh, see all of us.
I'm gonna move on. Enigma, you've had your time. We're moving on to Jamie Lyon now. Number 1.
Oh boy.
If elected as a president of an organization, what 2 words do you combine into one word? Oh, like of a word organization. Like synergy. Okay.
I honestly have no idea. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty used with words as they are as a writer, so I'm not really sure what 2 words I could actually, like, think off the top of my head to combine to make into one, personally speaking.
I think that's fair. Number 2, have you ever worried that farting during sleep will fill up your blanket like a hot air balloon and you will float off to a part unknown in the world? This is the best rewrite of Up I've ever seen.
Just go off the Mac Kirby Dragons.
I haven't been worried about that myself, but I do know that I've had, like, an issue with farting too often, but, you know, that's purely me personally, but, you know, I've never really worried about that just because I've known from experience that isn't really likely to happen. But, you know, who knows?
And then number 3 is, which one character in any franchise would you have wear a diaper?
Okay, that's a weird...
Canon-wise, there's only 3 characters that wear diapers.
I will
Bill
say...
Pickles.
I will say, there is one character that does lead to an interesting question. I gotta ask you guys, do you think Tony Stark would wear a diaper in his Iron Man suit?
Yes,
no.
because astronauts do it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, do you think he would have to wear that? And if so, That could honestly lead to an interesting scenario. Like maybe he gets injured, and Spider-Man is like trying to help him getting out of his suit. Does you sees that? Just like, what the fuck? Don't
fair,
question it. Just ignore that.
To be fair,
Like-
though, to be fair, Tony would probably create some horrifying catheter-like robot thing that sucks the pee right out of your dick, so he
Didn't-
wouldn't have to wear a diaper.
I thought he did.
I don't know.
Really?
Like I don't know. Tony Stark has been a kinky son of a bitch before. Like there have been some comics where it's been confirmed that he's like been into pegging and stuff. So who knows? Maybe he would be into that.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I thought there was a spot in one of the movies that said, if somebody asked him, "How do you go pee in the suit?"
And he pees in it,
just
yeah.
like that. Or am I thinking of a different movie?
No, you're thinking of it. Yeah, it was Iron Man 2.
I mean,
right,
of all
right.
the characters who would be confident enough to answer that question honestly, Tony Stark might be one of them. I'm just gonna be honest right there.
I don't like pain when I calf.
You what?
Nothing. Never mind. We're moving on. Okay, Nobody Special is up next. That is their username. I'm not being an insult person. Enigma, or not Enigma, Jesus. Rav, do you want to ask these questions?
All right. I'll take Nobody Special. I'm so sad. Anyways, TheVClaw. More like the Dumb Claw. Am I right, fellas? I mean, that's just mean.
Yeah, like I think I saw that question up in the thread. I think that was just more like a joke sort of thing to get himself be known, just to like have his question be brought up. But you know,
All right.
I don't really have
It's
anything.
a joke. He
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
read the next line. Read the next line. It's fine.
I just saw that. Not just kidding. Is this life or is this just fantasy? Is this a movie song quote?
Is this the real life, or is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Come on, Rav, you can do it.
I gotta say that
It's Bohemian Rhapsody. It's Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, you know that song.
I love that
I
flavor.
gotta say that retelling of those lyrics is still better than the Rami Malek film. Let's be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie was such a disappointment.
I have yet to watch it, so I can't really say one way or the other on it. Well, moving on to something more pleasurable. How do you think a tail job would be?
I think it would depend on the type of species. Like a pony, I think they might not be able to use their tail that well, but
It's like brushing your
like
hair
a
the wrong way.
scale creature like Spike, they might be able to use their tail better for that sort of thing. I think it would depend on the species more than anything else.
What if it's all tail like a snake?
I'd be more
Well,
worried
Snake
about
would
spines.
definitely have a good experience with that sort of thing. I think any scale creature would have better control of their tail than like a stallion, personally, or a griffin. Although I did sort of emphasize that griffin could use their tail pretty well and brush away the private moments, but
Well, I mean, we had Gilda freaking stealing an apple right off a cart with her tail, so I mean, they've got to be somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for?
Dexterous.
Prehensile? No, prehensile.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, and he says, I do hope you will have fun with these dorks. Love you guys. Aw.
Aw, that's so nice. Aw, thank you.
Now, Pencil, I'm going to give you something nice this cast. It's time for questions of Vylon. Vylon asks, how are you today?
I'm doing very well for myself right now. Thank you very much. I don't have any complaints.
That concludes questions of Vylon. Alex _ is up next. Number one, what are your hopes and dreams for 2021?
Well, my biggest one will be to get my story brushed away, transferred to physical print, and actually published so I could like sell that to various fans, and also just try to maintain my status of being able to write purely freelance and to get people to continue to follow my work wholeheartedly. And if you want to help with that, I got my Patreon at TheVClaw. You can also follow my fan fiction, Fur Fatty So Furry, to help that happen.
Number 2, did you realize that it's almost February? What happened to January?
You know what? A lot has happened during January, so I don't really blame people for thinking it's gone by too fast. But, that's just how time works.
The same thing that happened at 8.
To quote Red Letter Media, fuck you, it's January. Number 3, what's the worst thing you've ever had in your mouth?
I'm honestly not 100% sure about that. Like, I've had a lot in my mouth, but I can't really think of any that I've openly regretted having in my mouth.
I have something.
Oh.
My answer is a middle school chicken sandwich, and the chicken tasted like it was a chain smoker.
What the fuck was that first word?
A middle school chicken sandwich.
Oh, I thought you said something else, like it was some fancy word you couldn't pronounce. Fucking, I'm deaf as shit.
I mean, middle school usually isn't something he can pronounce, but...
Well, no, I mean, to me, it sounded like middle school, like he was
a minuscule chicken sandwich.
All right. Number 4. VClaw, what are your hopes for Generation 5?
Honestly, I can't really say what I have thought out for Gen 5. I'm wanting to keep that up to the writers because, the moment fans start thinking more about the show than the writers do, that's when hate mail starts, that's when people start getting overly attached to it, and I don't want to end up like those assholes who sent death threats to the writers during seasons 8 and 9. Like, I don't want to do that sort of thing, so I'm just keeping that solely on them. That's what they're known for. I'm just going along for the ride.
What I'm looking forward to is if Spike continues his trend of upper body strength, that in Gen 5, his body evolves into some sort of Sebulba-esque creature where he walks around in his arms.
You're making me think of the fucking bulldog from Sly Cooper.
All right. Now we've got some questions from Anon. Pencil?
I'm
Pencil?
ready.
Go for it.
VClaw.
Yes.
What would you whisper into a vagina? What would it whisper back?
Get the away from me.
You're probably right. Those are my questions. Really nicely done.
So unbirthing.
No, gross. No.
No,
I've only
stop.
seen
It's time.
one unbirthing pig, and I'm glad that I'm not really thinking about that until just now.
Anything
All right.
for the cringe, I guess.
Last but not least, the final question that we have for you is from Sombert. What fic helped you decide to start a Patreon and start accepting commissions?
I honestly do not know. I think I honestly don't know what fic made me want to think about doing that. I think I just realized, you know what, people have wild ideas. I might as well try to make some profit off of it. And when I started my Patreon, that was mostly I think I started that when I first moved to my current apartment because I was unjustly evicted from my old one when I moved my boyfriend in, and they sort of just sent me a notice less than a month later saying that I had to leave. And so many people managed to help me out during that time. Like, people from work were giving me boxes so I could help pack things up. And after I moved, I managed to get enough funds to help keep up with bills from people donating to various stores. I was just thinking, you know what? I might as well just get a Patreon to get that, keep that going. So, yeah, I don't think it was really any specific story. It was just time I was in helped me realize how important that was for me. So yeah, that will be my answer right there.
Fair enough. Now, that is the last question that we've got for you. So, in order to tie all of this up with a nice little bow on top, if people listen to this or catch this on iTunes or something like that, and they're like, darn, I missed the opportunity to ask a question. Aren't I just a stinker? What would be the best way for them to get in contact and send you a message and perhaps ask them a question that we didn't get to ask here today?
I would say either PM me on FinFiction or Furfinity, or maybe just follow my official Patreon. You can see what I'm working on at the moment. I'm currently working on a sequel to Game Night. I have about 9,200 words worth of content written for that story so far, and after that, I'll have the Haida from Agrasuko getting pegged. But yeah, I would suggest one of those websites would be good to bring up for my work.
Fair enough. Well,
Do you have any final messages for your fans out there?
I would just say keep tuned, because I have a lot more coming for 2021. I am not slowing down on my progress in any way, shape, or form, and just keep an eye out, because I have a lot planned, and 2021 is going to be just as active as it was in 2020. So, yeah, keep an eye out. I'm still here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, that's all we've got for today. V, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us and answer our terrible questions.
It's no problem at all. I'm very glad to be here. I've been wanting to try to build up my fan base, so hopefully this will get more people interested in my work.
Well, we hope that we can get the word out there. Milk, what are we up to next week?
More pain and suffering, as usual.
That sounds about right. So, with that being said, thank you for listening to this edition of the Barcast. Your bartenders for this evening have been Anon Pencil.
To answer the question in the chat, because I said I would, I actually like the new Iron Will's wager. There you go. Mwah. Next person.
Yay!
Enigmatic Otaku.
Martha, why did you say that name?
Milk.
Who the fuck is Martha?
Rav.
Sorry, what?
Our amazing guest, TheVClaw.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to have been here.
And I am a sack of garbage. Thank you, and see you all next time. Bye-bye!